My husband Mark was a soldier. He was brave. He was strong. He was my everything. And he was supposed to be thousands of miles away, serving his country. That's why I couldn't understand it. Why my heart pounded with a strange, hopeful fear that day. He wasn't due home for 3 more months. 3 long, empty months. But something in the air felt different. And then, the impossible happened. He stood at our front door, much too early, and what he thought he saw, it nearly broke him. It nearly broke everything we had built together. Our life was a rhythm of hellos and goodbyes. Mostly goodbyes, it often felt. Each time he left, a piece of my heart went with him. I'd wave until his car was a tiny speck down the road. Then I'd walk back into our quiet house. The silence was always the loudest part. We wrote letters, old-fashioned handwritten letters. His were smudged with dirt from faraway lands. Mine were often tear-stained. We dreamed of a normal life, a life with noisy breakfasts and weekend plans. A life with a child. Oh, how we longed for a child. We tried for years, so many years. Each month brought a fresh wave of hope. And then the familiar ache of disappointment. The doctor said it was unlikely. My heart broke a little more each time. Mark held me close. He'd whisper, "We're a team, Sarah. We'll find a way," and we did. We decided to adopt. The paperwork was a mountain. The interviews were endless. It was another kind of battle, fought with patience and hope instead of weapons. Mark was deployed during the worst of it. I filled out forms alone, my hand shaking. I attended meetings, trying to be strong for both of us. He called when he could. His voice crackling over the line was my lifeline. "Any news, honey?" he'd ask, his hope mirroring mine. "Not yet, Mark, but soon, I feel it." I'd reply, trying to sound more confident than I felt. The waiting was a heavy blanket. Then just a few weeks ago the call came. A baby girl. Healthy. Beautiful, ours. If I wanted her, my heart exploded with a joy so fierce it stole my breath. "Yes," I cried into the phone. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Her name was Lily. Our Lily. I wanted to tell Mark immediately. To scream it from the rooftops. But his tour was ending in 3 months. He was so looking forward to coming home. To peace, to us. And I thought, what if I could make his homecoming even more special? What if I kept Lily a secret? A wonderful, beautiful surprise. Our daughter waiting to meet her daddy. It felt like the perfect plan. A secret just between me and the universe. My brother David lived a few states away. Mark had never met him. Deployments and distance had always kept them apart. When I told David about Lily, he was overjoyed. "You can't do this alone, Sarah," he said. "I'm coming." And he did. He arrived a week before Lily did. He helped me set up the nursery, painted the walls a soft yellow, assembled the crib with a determined look. He was a rock, quiet, steady, and kind. When I brought Lily home from the agency, David was there. He held her so gently, his eyes shining. "She's perfect, Sarah," he whispered. And she was. Our little miracle. The house was no longer quiet. It was filled with soft coos and tiny gurgles. And my heart was full, so incredibly full. I imagined Mark's face. The shock. The pure, unfiltered joy. It was going to be the best surprise of his life. I just had to keep it together for a little while longer. Meanwhile, halfway across the world, Mark was counting down the days. He told me later how much he missed me. How much he missed our home. He said the thought of my smile kept him going through the hardest times. Then his captain called him in. "Good news, Sergeant," the captain said. "You're on the list. Early leave." Mark couldn't believe it. Early leave. It was almost unheard of. He wouldn't have much time to pack, to prepare. He wouldn't even have time to call me and tell me. He thought, "I'll surprise her. She'll be so happy." His heart soared. He was coming home to me. The journey was a blur of planes and airports. He barely slept, buzzing with excitement. He pictured my face when I opened the door. He imagined holding me, breathing in the scent of my hair. He thought about all the simple things. Cooking dinner together. Watching a movie on the couch. Just being together. He didn't know about Lily. He didn't know about David. He only knew he was coming home to his wife. His world was simple and clear. He finally reached our street. Our little blue house looked just the same. His heart beat faster. He was almost there. He walked up the familiar path. He noticed the flowers I'd planted by the porch. They were blooming. He smiled. He reached for the doorknob, ready to swing it open and shout, "Surprise!" But then he paused. The door was already slightly ajar. Just a crack. Strange. I was always so careful about locking it. A tiny sliver of unease crept into his mind. He pushed the door open just a little more, very quietly. And then he heard it. A sound he'd never heard in our house before. A baby. Cooing softly. His blood ran cold. A baby. He peered through the narrow gap. His eyes landed on me. I was sitting on the sofa, cradling a tiny bundle in my arms. I looked tired, he thought. But there was a soft smile on my face. A look he knew. A look of love. And then he saw him. A man. A man he didn't recognize. The man was sitting close to me. Very close. He gently touched my arm. Then he leaned over and looked at the baby. He smiled at me. I smiled back. They looked happy. Like a family. Mark told me later that in that moment, his world shattered. It felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. Every dream. Every hope. Every loving memory turned to ash. His sacrifice. His service. Had it all been for nothing? He thought I had moved on. Found someone else. Had a child with another man. While he was away, fighting for us. For our future, the pain was a physical thing. He said. It clawed at his chest. Stole his breath. He felt like he couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. This was the scene at his front door. His wife. Another man. A baby. It nearly broke him. Right there on our doorstep. He couldn't stay hidden. He couldn't just turn and walk away. The betrayal he felt burned too hot. He pushed the door open wide. It banged against the wall. I jumped, startled. My eyes flew to the door. When I saw him, all the color drained from my face. "Mark," I whispered. My voice was barely audible. Lily started to cry from the sudden noise. David stood up, looking confused and alarmed. Mark just stared. His face was a mask of agony. Of disbelief. What is this?" He finally choked out. His voice was hoarse. Broken. He looked from me to David, then to the baby in my arms. "Sarah, who is this? What have you done?" Tears welled in my eyes. I was so shocked to see him. So overjoyed. But his face, his words. They terrified me. "Mark, it's not what you think." I stammered, standing up, holding Lily close. "Not what I think," he repeated, his voice rising. "I'm not an idiot, Sarah. I see what's right in front of me." He took a step into the room. He looked like a stranger. Haunted. David stepped forward slightly. "Hey man, just calm down. You stay out of this." Mark roared, pointing a shaking finger at David. I had never seen him like this. So full of rage. So full of pain. My carefully planned surprise, my beautiful secret, had turned into a nightmare. "Mark, please." I begged, tears streaming down my face now. "Please, just listen to me." "Listen to what?" "Lies. More lies." He gestured wildly around the room. "How long, Sarah? How long has this been going on?" His accusation hung in the air. Heavy. Suffocating. I felt like I was drowning. He thought the worst of me. The very worst. "This is Lily," I said, my voice trembling. I held the baby out slightly. She's our daughter, Mark." He just stared. Blankly. "Our daughter," he scoffed, a bitter, heartbreaking sound. "How can she be our daughter? We adopted her, Mark. The agency called. It finally happened." He looked at David. "And him? Is he part of the adoption agency too?" Sarcasm dripped from his words. My heart ached. He was so hurt. So lost. "Mark," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "This is David. My brother. Mark froze. Your brother? He said, his eyes narrowing. You told me your brother lived across the country. You said. He does, I interrupted gently. He came to help me, Mark, with the baby. Because you weren't here. And I wanted to surprise you. I could see a flicker of confusion in his eyes. A tiny crack in his wall of pain. Surprise me, he whispered. Yes, I said, taking a tentative step towards him. Lily was still whimpering in my arms. I wanted you to come home and meet her. Our daughter. I wanted it to be perfect. David spoke then, his voice calm. He's never seen me before. We've never had the chance to meet Mark. I'm Sarah's brother. Mark looked from David to me. Then down at Lily. His face was still tight with emotion. But the anger was slowly draining away. Replaced by a dawning, horrifying understanding. Understanding of what he had thought. What he had accused me of. Your brother? He said again, softer this time. He looked at me, his eyes searching mine. And, Lily, she's ours. I nodded, fresh tears spilling. Yes, Mark, she's ours. Our little girl. I walked closer very slowly, until I was standing right in front of him. I gently placed Lily into his arms. He was hesitant at first. His hands were trembling. But then he looked down at her tiny face. At her little button nose. Her wisps of dark hair. Lily stopped crying. She blinked up at him with wide, innocent eyes. And in that moment, something in Mark visibly broke. But this time, it wasn't from pain. It was from an overwhelming wave of emotion. Relief. Disbelief. And a joy so profound it buckled his knees. He sank onto the edge of the sofa. Lily cradled securely against his chest. He just stared at her. Tears streamed down his own face now. Unashamed. Our daughter, he murmured, his voice thick. Our daughter, he looked up at me. His eyes filled with 1,000 apologies. Sarah. I'm so sorry. I thought. I know what you thought. I said softly, kneeling beside him. I wiped a tear from his cheek. It's okay. You're home. David quietly excused himself. Sensing we needed a moment. I'll go make some coffee, he said, and slipped out of the room. Mark looked at me, his gaze raw. I almost lost it, Sarah. What I saw, what I imagined. It was, I whispered, taking his hand. It's over. It was a misunderstanding. A terrible, awful misunderstanding. But we're okay. He held Lily with one arm, and pulled me close with the other. She's beautiful, he whispered, his lips against my hair. Just like her mom. I cried then. Tears of relief. Tears of joy. My surprise hadn't gone as planned. Not even close. It had started with heartbreak and confusion. But here we were. Together. A family. Our little Lily, oblivious to the storm she had unknowingly weathered, snuggled contentedly in her father's arms. Mark finally understood. The man was my brother, there to support me. The baby was the daughter we had prayed for. The scene that had nearly broken him was, in truth, the start of our most beautiful chapter. His homecoming was a shock, for both of us. It tested our trust, our love, in a way we never expected. But as Mark held our daughter for the first time, all the pain, all the fear, melted away. It was replaced by a love so pure, so powerful, it filled every corner of our home. He was home. Really home. And this time, he wasn't alone. He had me. And he had Lily. Our family was finally complete. It wasn't the homecoming either of us had imagined. But in the end, it was perfect. Perfectly chaotic. Perfectly emotional. Perfectly ours. And Mark? He wasn't broken. He was made whole. Thank you for listening to our story. It's a reminder that sometimes, things aren't what they seem, and communication is everything. If you were touched by Mark and Sarah's journey, please give this video a like. What did you think Mark was going to see? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt stories. And share this video with someone who might need a reminder that love can conquer even the biggest misunderstandings. Until next time. Take care.